Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about drug therapy of glaucoma. We will cover pharmacological aspects mainly. Now some basics thing about glaucoma we will see. What is glaucoma? So according to Greek ancient meaning, glaucoma, that means clouded or blue-green hue. It is one of the reason for blindness, and it is believed to be due to advancing years or aging. Glaucoma is a group of disorders characterized by a progressive optic neuropathy resulting in a characteristic appearance of optic disc and specific pattern of irreversible visual field defects that are associated frequently but not invariably with increased IOP or intraocular pressure or intraocular tension. If it is more than 21 mm of Hg, we can say it is glaucoma. But if it is not much rise, but another clinical evidence or ophthalmological evidence of glaucoma is there, so it might be possible the IOT may be normal or reduced. All types of glaucoma that will lead to progressive optic neuropathy due to death of retinal ganglion cells. And the most common reason for this is advanced age and disease or some conditions like diabetes and many other. Types of glaucoma: congenital glaucoma, primary glaucoma. Primary glaucoma involve open angle and close angle. Secondary glaucoma, that means some reason is there, secondary to that there is rise in IOT or intraocular tension. Lens induced, traumatic or steroid induced. Absolute glaucoma. Here, pharmacological point of view, we are interested in this primary glaucoma, open angle glaucoma and close angle glaucoma. Open angle glaucoma is also known as wide angle glaucoma or chronic simple glaucoma. Closed angle glaucoma is also known as narrow angle glaucoma. Now we'll see some anatomy or anatomical portion that is related to glaucoma, and repeatedly I will present this type of figures. So there is more clarification regarding anatomical portion. So it would be better to understand the pharmacotherapy. So regarding aqueous humor, if we'll see, aqueous humor is secreted from ciliary body. This is ciliary muscles. This is iris. Iris we are knowing circular and radial muscle, that is also known as sphincter pupillae and dilator pupillae. Lens, this is suspensory ligament. So after secretion from ciliary body or ciliary epithelium, this is the pathway of aqueous humor. So this is posterior chamber behind the iris. This is the anterior chamber. So from posterior chamber through the pupil, it will travel into the anterior chamber. Here two pathways are there, we can say. One is trabecular for drainage. One is trabecular tract or pathway through canal of scalum, and another we'll see in next figures, that is uveoscleral pathway. This is cornea and this is iris. So this is iridocorneal angle, and in case of narrow angle glaucoma or angle closed glaucoma, what will happen? Naturally, some person is having this narrow iridocorneal angle or the shallow anterior chamber, and because of that acutely there is rise in intraocular tension. So here there are chances of pupillary blockage in case of narrow angle glaucoma, and iridocorneal, there is closure of iridocorneal angle. So there is a problem in drainage of via trabecular route mainly, and because of that from posterior chamber to anterior chamber traveling, that is also difficult. Okay, same thing. Again repetition, ciliary body, suspensory ligament, lens, iris, aqueous humor, cornea, anterior chamber, posterior chamber. So from ciliary body to posterior chamber to anterior chamber, lens, pupil, iridocorneal, angle, trabecular pathway and uveoscleral pathway. Repetition, but I would like to say it again. Aqueous is continuously produced by ciliary body, as we have seen, at the rate of 2 to 3 microliter per minute. Aqueous flows from the posterior chamber through the anterior chamber. Aqueous filters through the trabecular membrane, that is 90%. That is 90%, and canal of scleral venous plexus and into systemic circulation. Aqueous also exists to a smaller extent through the ocular venous system. Uveoscleral outflow. Uvea we are knowing, ciliary body, choroid, scleral vessels, etc. Sorry. एक मिनट, आई कैन गेट. हाँ मैं बोल रही हूँ. ये कौन है? क्या बोलना है? यहां से करो. I would like to request students to close their cameras, please, because it appears here. So I request you, those who are on camera or with on camera, please. As such also you can hear me. Okay? Okay, now we will go further. Okay, so again, anatomy, ciliary muscle, ciliary body, pathway, posterior chamber, anterior chamber, pupillary, sphincter pupillae, dilator pupillae, trabecular outflow, responsible for 90% of the drainage of aqueous humor, uveoscleral pathway responsible for 10% of the drainage of aqueous humor. So what is the therapeutic goal in case of glaucoma? We have already seen the anatomy. That's why we can easily say our primary aim is to lower intraocular tension by reduction of aqueous humor secretion. Another thing, by promoting aqueous drainage. Another thing is lowering of intraocular tension retards progression of optic nerve damage even in normal and low intraocular tension. And that's why whether IOT is raised or not, in case of glaucoma, we need to reduce the intraocular tension. So thereby we can prevent the progression of optic nerve damage and blindness, we can say. Coming to the classification of the drug used in glaucoma. So two categories important we have seen, wide angle glaucoma and narrow angle glaucoma. So first of all we'll see about drugs used for wide angle glaucoma. Muscarinic agonist, cholinomimetic agents you have already learned, physostigmine, that is anticholinesterase, pilocarpine, alkaloid, carbachol, bethanocol, these are choline esters, neostigmine, again anticholinesterase agent, etc. Sympathomimetic agents. So we are knowing sympathomimetic agents, having action on alpha as well as beta receptor, agonistic action. So which alpha agonists are used here? Adrenaline, dipivefrin. Basically adrenaline and dipivefrin, they are non-selective agents. They act as alpha agonist also, alpha 2 agonist also, as well as beta agonist also. Selective alpha 2 agonists are apraclonidine and brimonidine. Then sympathetic depressions or blockers, we can say blockers. Beta blockers, timolol, which is non-selective beta blocker, betaxolol, that is the selective beta 1 blocker, levobunolol, cartiolol, metipranolol, these are the other non-selective beta blockers. You can remember betaxolol and L-betaxolol. These two are the selective or cardioselective beta blocker. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, another class. So these are basically diuretics, we can say, but also used here for reduction of aqueous humor. Which are the agent? Acetazolamide and dichlorphenamide, dorzolamide and brinzolamide. Acetazolamide, that is for systemic administration, mainly in narrow angle glaucoma. Others can be used as topical agents also. Then prostaglandin F2 alpha analogs which acts on prostanoid receptors. So which are the agents or prostaglandin analogs used for glaucoma? These are latanoprost, travoprost and bimatoprost. These three agents. Now if we see about the wide angle glaucoma, we have seen the classification. We can remember one simple thing, that is first choice agents or preferred agent for wide angle glaucoma are prostaglandin analogs. You remember it. Okay. Now coming to the narrow angle glaucoma, short acting myotics like pilocarpine, physostigmine, carbachol, dehydrating agents or osmotic agents, we can say mannitol, magnesium sulfate, isosorbide. You can add here glycerol also, which is also having osmotic action. So osmosis, we have already learned in physiology, or we learn from school days what is osmosis. So here main purpose of using osmotic agents is fast removal or fast drainage of aqueous humor. So it is useful in the condition like narrow angle glaucoma or acute congestive glaucoma. For acute conditions, they are life-saving, we can say, or at least they prevent blindness. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, dorzolamide, acetazolamide, alpha 2 agonists, brimonidine. So in case of narrow angle glaucoma, one agent or one class you can add agents which have no role in wide angle glaucoma. But the initially or in the starting therapy of narrow angle glaucoma, these osmotic agents and carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are given. Again, another way of drugs in glaucoma. So mechanism wise, decrease aqueous secretion and increase aqueous outflow or drainage. So decrease secretion. Beta blockers, cardioselective, non-selective, timolol, levobunolol, cartiolol, cardioselective, betaxolol and levobetaxolol. Alpha 2 agonist, brimonidine, apraclonidine. These are the clonidine congener. Clonidine we have already seen, that is selective alpha 2 agonist. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, acetazolamide mainly for systemic use, IV and oral. Dorzolamide, brinzolamide are topical carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So all these agents helpful in reduction of aqueous secretion. Now enhance aqueous drainage. So we have seen two pathways for drainage. One is trabecular pathway, another is uveoscleral outflow or pathway. So trabecular pathway is considered as main because 90% of the aqueous humor drainage by this pathway. So which are the agents helpful here in case of trabecular outflow or enhancing trabecular outflow? Myotics, pilocarpine, physostigmine and other cholinomimetic agents we have already seen. Alpha-2 agonists like dipivefrin. Then uveoscleral outflow enhancement by prostaglandin like latanoprost and bimatoprost, travoprost, etc. Location of target of drugs. This is like repetition. In short, again I would like to repeat. Alpha-1 receptor, where is the location of alpha-1 receptors? In the ciliary blood vessels. And alpha-1 receptors we are knowing its vasoconstrictor. So thereby it will decrease aqueous secretion. Ciliary body epithelium this is the presence of enzyme known as carbonic anhydrase. So in physiology also you have learned what is the role of carbonic anhydrase enzyme. So bicarbonate portion of aqueous humor is secreted by this enzyme. So by inhibiting this enzyme, we will reduce the bicarbonate portion of aqueous humor. Alpha-2 receptor, beta-2 receptors, so they act via cellular mechanism or molecular mechanism, we can say about cyclic AMP modification. Alpha-2 receptor is inhibitory in nature, decrease cyclic AMP, so decrease aqueous humor production. Beta-2 receptors, here 2-3 hypotheses are there regarding the beta-2 receptor role, that is ultimately enhance filtering or hydroulic filtering capacity of aqueous humor is with beta-2 receptor. So in which conditions we need to use agonist and in which condition we need to use antagonist or blocker, that now we can say easily. Sympathomimetic agents, alpha-1 agonist, adrenaline, as we have discussed, not only alpha-1 but alpha-2 and beta mediated action that is also present with adrenaline, but predominant is this action. Topical adrenaline is given for glaucoma. Mechanism action, decrease formation of aqueous humor by vasoconstriction because it is alpha-1 mediated action. Adverse event, irritation and pigmentation of conjunctiva. Dipivefrin, so dipivefrin is the pro-drug of adrenaline and it's converted into adrenaline, or we can say it is hydrolyzed into adrenaline inside the eye after penetration. Dipivefrin after penetration, hydrolysis occur and converted into adrenaline. Here it's having action via beta receptor on uveoscleral outflow, which is enhanced. It is having action on alpha-1 as well as alpha-2 receptors we have already seen. Thereby it will decrease the secretion of aqueous. So ultimately reduction of intraocular pressure. Advantage of dipivefrin is better tolerated and longer acting than adrenaline. Here adrenaline is given topically. Still there are systemic adverse effect which is seen very less with dipivefrin, and duration of action of dipivefrin is also long. So that is the advantage of dipivefrin above adrenaline. Alpha-2 agonist, apraclonidine and brimonidine, we have seen these two are clonidine congener. Used topically 1% as an adjuvant. They are not the first line agent. We need to remember in case of wide angle glaucoma, the first line agents are always prostaglandin analogs. In angle closure glaucoma, we have to start therapy with osmotic agents and carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Repeatedly, I will say to you. Apraclonidine, alpha-2 agonist, alpha-2 inhibitory in nature, decreased cyclic AMP, decreased formation of aqueous humor, reduction of intraocular tension or pressure. Which are the side effects? Itching, lid dermatitis, follicular conjunctivitis, mydriasis, eyelid retraction, dryness of mouth and nose. Mydriasis, in case of angle closure glaucoma, mydriasis are the agents produces dilatation of pupil. So they can cause more obliteration of iridocorneal angle. So these side effects are basically because of topical administration, but sometimes systemic side effects also seen. Again, I request to students, please close the camera from your side. Close the camera from your side. I will be here without camera also. Now, prostaglandin analog, PGF2 alpha analog, first line drugs. Once daily dosing, which is the major advantage we can say. What is the mechanism of action? They act on prostanoid receptors located on ciliary muscles and decrease intraocular pressure. Another effect on uveoscleral outflow or the drainage is will be there with prostaglandin analog. Side effect, which is conjunctival hyperemia and eyelash growth stimulation. So, which are mainly the local type of macular degeneration that is also found with prostaglandin analog long-term effect. Agents. Which are the agents? Latanoprost. Once daily administration in the evening, that is sufficient. Potent intraocular pressure lowering effect, mean intraocular pressure reduction by 25 to 35%, which is considered as major reduction. Advantage of latanoprost, good efficacy, once daily application, absence of systemic complications. PG analogs have become the first choice agents in developed countries. Not only in developed countries, but in our country or developing countries also. In case of wide angle glaucoma, we can say PG analogs are the first choice agents because of such type of advantages. Travoprost, that is the another PG analog or prostaglandin analog, which is synthetic. Available as 0.004% solution. Once daily dosing at the evening, similar to that of latanoprost, does not require refrigeration or protection from sunlight. So that is also one of the advantage of travoprost. Another agent is also there, which is synthetic, known as bimatoprost, which is longer acting and good efficacy as compared to latanoprost. Again, repetition of autonomic pharmacology of eye. Here also we will concentrate more on parasympathetic tone. The sphincter muscles, constrictor muscles also, these are also known as constrictor pupillae, are innervated by parasympathetic system. Stimulation of these muscles results in contraction of muscle and in turn pupillary constriction, which is known as meiosis, that we have already learned in case of cholinomimetic agents. Radial muscles are innervated by sympathetic system. Stimulation result in contraction of dilator pupillae and pupillary dilatation, that is known as mydriasis. Your parasympathetic system predominates. So, if we discuss about the agents acting on autonomic ganglia, non-selective action on sympathetic ganglia also, as well as parasympathetic ganglia also. At that time, the predominant action on eye that will be of parasympathetic system. Parasympathetic activity of ciliary muscle leads to contraction of ciliary muscle, relaxation of ligaments to the lens, and the lens become more globular. Pupillary blockage is removed and iridocorneal angle is freed. That we have already seen in case of narrow iridocorneal angle. It is very useful. So all these also helpful in trabecular drainage, which is considered as major drainage tract or pathway for aqueous humor. Muscarinic agonists, parasympathomimetic agents or meiotics mechanism already we have seen. The agents also we have seen. We'll see about some commonly used agents. Alkaloid like pilocarpine, 0.5% topical solution is used for glaucoma. Mechanism of action: activation of M3 receptors, contraction of ciliary muscles, increased drainage of aqueous humor. Ecothiophat, that is anticholinesterase inhibitor, increase outflow of the same. Preparations of pilocarpines available, which are they? So pilocarpine gel, pilocarpine hydrochloride 4%, membrane controlled delivery system. This is new drug delivery. Nowadays it's not new drug delivery system, but you can remember this as different type of delivery system. So what is it? It is inserted in cul-de-sac that gradually release drug at the rate of 20 microgram per hour, effective for 7 days. We can say its depot preparation is there. So millet shape or small rice shape pellet is available, that is to be inserted and kept in sac. Pilocarpine soaked contact lens also available, and that also lead to release of pilocarpine slowly over the time. Liposomal pilocarpine, liposomal preparations we all are familiar with, better bioavailability and ocular penetration. Systemic or side effect: diminished vision, that is because of contraction of ciliary muscles, and it's interfere with accommodation, also lead to spasm of accommodation. Induced myopia, we can say that is another type of side effect or adverse event noted with the use of miosis in young patients, and it is very cumbersome. Headache and brow pain, that is because of spasm of muscle over a long period. So that is also cumbersome and interfere with routine of the patients. Now what is the current status of these miotics? Because previously, if we see, they were the first choice agents when no other agents were available for the use. But nowadays, because of several drawbacks, they are now used only as last resort or last option. First choice, we are knowing prostaglandin analogs. Now beta blockers, which are the drugs? Timolol, 0.5% topical solution used. Cartiolol, levobinolol, metiprenolol, these are non-selective beta blockers. Which are the selective beta blockers? Again, I would like to say betaxolol and the congener of it, that is levobetaxolol. Betaxolol, timolol having neuroprotective action. So neuroprotective beta blockers blunt the ganglion cell death in glaucoma like levobetaxolol. So neuroprotective action in which sense? The retinal neurons, which again goes neurodegenerative changes. I frequently students to close their camera. Close it. You can hear me. Close from your side. So this is the additional advantage of betaxolol and timolol having neuroprotective action. Mechanism: block beta receptor in ciliary body, decrease cyclic AMP, aqueous humor, cellular mechanism, molecular that we are knowing. Advantages over meiotics: no change in pupil size. As we have seen in meiotics, meiosis will be there, so that will lead to change in pupil size. It is absent in case of beta blockers. No headache or brow pain as in case of meiotics. No fluctuation in intraocular pressure. Once or twice daily administration. In case of pilocarpine and other meiotics, what was the problem? That was the problem about duration of action also. Very short duration of action, and because of that, frequent administration is required in case of meiotics. And so in case of pilocarpine, we have seen many depot preparation type of drug delivery system. So that is the advantage in case of beta blockers. The longer action is there, so OD or BD administration is possible. Use in clinical practice, that means what is the current scenario or what is the status of beta blocker. Integral part of glaucoma management, but second line medications. Why? Because prostaglandin analog we have seen there are so many advantages of prostaglandin analog, and that's why they are first line. But in the conditions when prostaglandin analogs are not given at that time, the second choice agents we can say they are beta blockers, which were previously used as first line agents. Nowadays also in some institute, if PG analogs are not available or in the conditions when they are not given, we can give beta blockers and they will be successfully control intraocular tension. Work well when added to prostaglandins. So if with monotherapy, with prostaglandin, if IOT is not controlled, then it's better to add beta blockers. If twice daily dosing required, early morning and then 12 hours later. So that way we can give beta blocker. Betaxolol, we are knowing selective beta-1 blocker, less likely to cause bronchospasm, less likely to cause systemic side effects, neuroprotective effect. How? Because it's having calcium channel blocking effect. That's why neuroprotective, which neurons? Retinal neurons, which can degenerate and can lead to blindness later on. So this is the additional benefit of betaxolol, which is the selective beta-1 blocker, also known as cardioselective. So beta-2 mediated functions are basically preserved, like bronchodilation, which can lead to systemic side effect. But what is the problem with betaxolol? Betaxolol having more action, it is also having action on beta-2. But beta-2 action is very less. It is selective beta-1 blocker we can say. So whatever the anti-glaucoma action of betaxolol is there, that is mediated by beta-2 receptor and not the beta-1 or negligible beta-1 mediated anti-glaucoma action is there, because there is no role of or very less role of beta-1 receptors in glaucoma that we are knowing. So efficacy wise, if we'll see non-selective agents like timolol and others, so they act on both the receptors. So efficacy wise, betaxolol is less efficacious as compared to non-selective agent. But at that dose also it is helpful in reduction of intraocular tension in case of mild to moderate cases with very less adverse effect or side effect with this type of additional advantage. And another thing with betaxolol is nowadays it is preferred to initiate the therapy with betaxolol and then switch over to timolol in case of wide angle glaucoma when there is a need to give or add beta blocker. Carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, topical agent dorzolamide, brinzolamide that we have discussed, oral or systemic, acetazolamide, methazolamide, not only oral but acetazolamide is given IV also in case of acute congestive glaucoma, which is an emergency condition. That's why we are giving IV. Mechanism: this drug inhibit carbonic anhydrase enzyme, reduces formation of bicarbonate and decrease intraocular tension or pressure reduction by acting at the level of secretion. Adverse effect: malaise, fatigue, nausea, loss of appetite, taste alteration. CNS effect like confusion, drowsiness, hearing dysfunction, renal stones and polyuria. As we have discussed earlier, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors are diuretics. Systemic administration can lead to diuresis and CNS effect also. You will learn later on in CVS about the more about the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors and diuretics. At that time, you come to know about various CNS side effect as well as various CNS uses of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Which are the contraindication? Hyponatremia, as we have discussed, it is diuretic action, so already it will lead to decrease the level of it. Hypokalemia, similar type of thing. Severe kidney or liver dysfunction, which can hamper the metabolism and excretion, so increase the blood concentration or plasma concentration of this agent. Adrenal gland failure, hyperchloremic alkalosis. These are the systemic side effect of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, and because of their contraindicated for the same condition. Closed angle glaucoma. See the normal anatomy or normal angle. We have already seen anterior chamber, posterior chamber. This is posterior chamber, anterior chamber. This is iris. This is pupillary pathway. Through the pupil, it will pass to the anterior chamber and various drainage system like trabecular pathway and uveoscleral pathway. So in angle closure glaucoma, what happened? Because of increased pressure, this pathway is blocked. Pupillary blockage, we can say. Raised IOT or intraocular pressure lead to condition like this. You can see here. So this is cornea and this is iris. So iridocorneal angle also get obliterated. And because of that, the further drainage of aqueous humor is not possible. Dangerous rise in intraocular tension. We have seen in diagnosis of glaucoma, if it is more than 21 mm of Hg, it is considered as glaucoma. But in case of angle closure glaucoma, it rises dangerously up to the level of 40 to 60 mm of Hg. That's why this angle closure glaucoma, or this is acute conditions, emergency condition, and require immediately drainage of the aqueous humor. Student can switch off the camera. For that, you have to be familiar with such type. Okay, acute angle closure glaucoma, intraocular pressure 40 to 70 mm Hg. line of treatment or management, systemic hyperosmotic agents like IV mannitol, which is the osmotic agents 1 mg per kg given, acetazolamide, which is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, 500 mg IV followed by 250 mg analgesic and antiemetics because of severe eye pain or headache because of the spasm, intraocular pressure increase. So these agents for symptomatic relief are required. In case when it is necessary to reduce inflammation immediately, we need to administer corticosteroid also like dexamethasone for 3 to 4 days. In case of acute angle glaucoma, the specific therapy, that is the surgery only, whether it is laser iridotomy or conventional surgical method. But before that, it is necessary to reduce the intraocular pressure or tension. So in case of acute angle closure glaucoma, first of all, osmotic agents are given, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors given, osmotic agents like mannitol, glycerol, isosorbide, magnesium sulfate are given. Here, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors like acetazolamide given. And then, when the intraocular pressure reduce or fall, at that time we can give either miotics or beta blockers or clonidine congeners or other topical agents. In case of miotics, if we'll see, they will not work with rise intraocular pressure or tension because penetration is not possible. So here I have taken this figure from a reference book, K.D. Tripathi, Development of Angle Closure Glaucoma and its Reversal by Miotic. So how miotics acts in case of angle closure glaucoma. This is the normal situation, lens, iris, cornea. This is the condition when mediasis occur in eye with narrow iridocorneal angle and iris makes contact with lens, blocking passage of aqueous from posterior to anterior chamber. Like this. So in normal conditions, it's having this problem, but no problem. I mean, it cause not any situation like emergency. But when the conditions, when mediatrix drugs are given or any other condition which can lead to increase in intraocular pressure, at that times what happens? You can see here. The pressure builds up behind the iris here, which bulges forward like this and closes this iridocorneal angle, thus blocking the aqueous outflow or drainage is impossible. So what is the role of miotics here? So miotic makes the iris thin. We are knowing it causes contraction of ciliary muscles as well as sphincter pupil. So pulls it away from the lens. So this blockage is removed. Pupillary blockage is removed as well as, so that will responsible for restoring aqueous drainage as well as it will helpful in drainage via iridocorneal angle also. So it will also free. Avoid mediatrix in closed angle glaucoma, that we have already discussed, because dilatation of pupil that can dangerously rise in intraocular tension. Recently beta blockers are used with pilocarpine. Any other agents you can give later on in case of angle closure glaucoma, but not initially, that we have already discussed. Drugs contraindicated in glaucoma, I am not going to say, but you can say the drugs which can cause mydriasis or dilatation of pupil or increase intraocular, which are contraindicated here. Summary, very important to remember, it's all about the glaucoma. So two varieties are important, open angle and angle closure. In case of open angles, what is the current strategy? Start with PG analog monotherapy or topical beta blocker if control is not possible with this, or combination of these two agents, prostaglandin analog and beta blocker. If still it is not controlled, then you can give second and third line agents like either brimonidine or dorzolamide or dipivefrin alone or as supplementary to primary agents like prostaglandin analogs or beta blockers. Topical miotics, oral acetazolamide as last resort. The reason we are knowing why miotics are not preferable these days. In case of angle closure glaucoma, the scenario or treatment modality is completely different from open angle. How? We have to start with IV osmotic agents, either with mannitol or glycerol or isosorbide. We can also give acetazolamide, which is carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, systemic administration, first of all IV, followed by oral. We can switch over to oral therapy. Then, if IOT is less, when IOT becomes less, at that time we can give topical miotics like pilocarpine every 10 minutes with increased frequency of administration period. Topical beta blockers, latanoprost, apraclonidine, or any other agents which we have discussed here in case of wide angle glaucoma. But in the initial treatment of angle closure glaucoma, this is very important to remember. Specific management, that is surgery only, that also we should remember. Iridotomy, whether laser or surgical. Question and answers for my students, I will already send them the Google form. So fill up it and submit it. For others, I can just go through quickly which class of anti-glaucoma drugs are the first choice agents in wide angle glaucoma. Name two agents of this class, which is selective beta-1 blocker used for glaucoma. Mention one additional advantage of it as an anti-glaucoma agent. Mention one limitation of the same agent. Give current approach to the treatment of wide angle glaucoma. Which agents are given initially in angle closure glaucoma and why? And list sympathomimetic agents used for asthma. These are very simple questions. You can answer it easily after attending this class, or if you open or refer your book, then also it would be easier to you. So the link will be open for next 2 hours. You can send it. It's very simple, very easy. Thank you.